In the year 1284, a mysterious man appeared in Hameln. He was wearing a coat of many-colored white cloth, for which reason he was called the Pied Piper. He claimed to be a rat catcher, and he promised that for a high fee he would rid the city of all mice and rats. The citizens struck a deal, promising him said price. The rat catcher then took a small fife from his pocket and began to blow on it. Rats and mice immediately came from every house and gathered around him. When he thought that he had them all, he led them to the river, where he pulled up his clothes and walked into the water. The animals all followed him, fell in and drowned. Now that the citizens had been freed of their plague, they regretted having promised so much money, and using all kinds of excuses, they refused to pay him. Finally, he went away, bitter and angry. He returned on St. Paul's Day, early in the morning, now dressed in a hunter's costume, with a dreadful look on his face and wearing a strange red hat. He sounded his fife in the streets, but this time it wasn't rats and mice that came to him, but rather children. A great number of boys and girls from their 4th year on. The swarm followed him, as he led them to the river, where they fell in and drowned. This event can be seen as the counterpart to the Gröndal event. Here there's also a mysterious stranger visiting the towns. 3 towns that you visit in short succession that have very little going on besides everyone being infatuated with the song the stranger was playing the day before. Everyone is humming or singing the tune, and at night all the townsfolk disappear, meaning you wake up in a ghost town. So this repeats twice. In the 2nd town you're made aware that the sea is less calm than before and fishing is getting hard since there are more and stronger monsters out at sea, and in the 3rd town you finally hear the musician yourself. It's constantly hinted at that he's Flowin from the Womas event, but never spelled out, which is your first clue that, unlike in Gröndal, this stranger doesn't have bad intentions. Since you heard him as well, you're also spirited away to a tower alongside the villagers, when the whole continent gets flooded. So Flowin saved everyone from drowning. The one at fault for the flood is Gracos, a returning boss from Dragon Quest VI. Not only for the player, but even the NPCs, he's an ancient and now returning legend. He only shares the design with the Dragon Quest VI boss. Their personalities and even colors are different. I think the reason for them sharing their design is to make him familiar to the player. He lives underwater in the sunken citadel, which is filled with the souls of people he drowned who he doesn't allow to move on. Whether their sorrow prevents them from moving on or whether it's Gracos' power is ambiguous. Either way, he appears very cocky, but regardless doesn't want to fight you. Instead, he summons these drowned souls to face you, and even if you beat them, they can't move on until Gracos is defeated. Here, souls are shown as moldable without their consent, which is different from how they were depicted in the All Trades Abbey event. It does however seem that Gracos is only able to control them because the sunken spirits are broken due to him and the eternity of suffering he put them through. And these transformations are only weak and temporary, since Flowin is able to reverse it immediately. This alone still makes Gracos the most powerful villain so far, but he has more than his own ability. Gracos was given the power to flood the entire continent by Orgodemir. Especially in the context of this game, which has so many biblical references, this is most likely in reference to the Genesis flood narrative. It was a very much devilish act of God, here being framed not as righteous, but instead as directly caused by the devil. The line between God and the devil is constantly being blurred, but more on that in the Gnosticism video. Either way, thanks to the at this point still mysterious seal on your hand, you can go underwater and together with Flowin fight Gracos to save the day. In this event, coming together from 2 relics of the past, Flowin, whose character arc of becoming the man you see now had already been completed in the Womas event, and Gracos, who is an old legend and not even new as a concept in the Dragon Quest series. In this event, with no new elements, you wrote new history, which is then in the present remembered, researched and treated as a legend, similar to the original story about Gracos. The present day event revolves around you helping a researcher in Wetlock and maybe going to fight Gracos' descendant. Both events are filled with friendly monsters in monster form, which also marks the first time you knowingly team up with monsters in this game when a slime helps you through a dungeon. Gracos V, the friendly neighborhood demon who is scared of humans since they killed his ancestor, is probably in reference to the Dragon Lord's descendant from Dragon Quest II. At least he gives me the exact same vibe. And if you're wondering what happened to the other 2 towns that I barely mentioned so far, they don't exist anymore. The only remnant of them is a withered sign, pointing to nowhere. Some things didn't stand the test of time, but stories of your exploits did. Now that you've created another legend of your own, next time you'll meet a legend of maybe even higher caliber.